Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal. My name is Sean Ellis. I am your host tonight, and we have an amazing guest sitting backstage, and we will get to her in just a few minutes when I announce her here. But I'd like to give a big shout out to some people here over the weekend, which was my Thursday, Friday. I went to Melbourne, Iowa to meet up with some of my friends. Phantom Paranormal, and we investigated Melbourne Manor. If you didn't see it live, you can go check out the page and check out Phantom Pals as well. They did some lives on Friday night as well. Also, I'd like to thank Josh Hurd, the owner of Melbourne Manor. Great guy. Go check him out. Also, we went to a neighboring cafe called the Salty Heifer Cafe in Melbourne Manor. And we got to meet Janelle. She is the owner. She actually let us sign the wall. It's just up behind my head there of the teams that are now starting to come in that are paranormal. She's making a wall for the teams that come in and visit. So we were one of the first ones to sign the wall. And I'd like to thank Janelle and her crew for all the great food we had there and the great hospitality as well. Definitely go check out the Salty Heifer Cafe in Melbourne Manor for sure. Also, I got to meet one of our fans that happened to come up and knock on the door. Her name is Cheyenne. She's from Canada. She stopped in to see Melbourne Manor with a few of her friends. And we gave her a tour of the place when we were there as well. And here's some of the things we wrote, what we wrote on the wall in the cafe. So big shout out to all those guys and a great night. And I'd like to thank Phantom Pals again for inviting me to the investigation as well. And backstage, I have Miss Lorilei from Angel Rock. And I've seen a few of her shows before, and she comes up with some very interesting topics and very interesting guests. If you haven't seen her, definitely check her out after the show. And but we have her backstage, and we're going to get into a conversation with Miss Lorilei. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me. I'm going to throw in that I broadcast actually with the UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network, or UPRN. We broadcast out of New Orleans, Louisiana, but I'm a Canadian. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We've got some people here in the house as well right now. We got
some of my peeps, I see.
Yep, here we go. Michelle's in the house.
Hi, Michelle. Well, fun.
Let's see. We've got Leah from Phantom Paranormal. She's in the house.
Hi, Leah.
Phantom Paranormal or Phantom Palace Paranormal. I was just with these guys last Thursday and Friday. Great team. Go check these guys out.
We got Mish. We got Mish Pratt from Australia. So I always like to say she's in the future because it's Monday morning over there.
Leah says, go sign the wall. If anybody goes to the Malvern Manor, stop into the Salty Heifer and go sign the wall. And yeah, we got quite a few in here right now. Fantastic night. We'll have to do it again. Yeah, we will. We'll definitely have to do it. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the ones that are on my side that haven't met you yet?
Sure. So I have a bit of a long intro, but I'll tell you what I usually do when I do a show. So I'm a Canadian psychic medium. I'm a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, animal communicator. I'm a registered nurse. I'm well-versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself, and I've studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. And I am extremely well-versed in the paranormal. I always say I didn't go looking for it, it found me. And we shared our story on the channel, Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor, Season 4, Episode 9. It's called Demonic Hauntings. And actually, our network manager, and she has 2 shows on our network, is actually in that episode. I did not know her at the time, but her name is Michelle DeRoche. So that's a little bit about me, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. I noticed we do got a few things in common with being Reiki, doing energy work, and crystals. That's one thing I actually do as well, is do a lot of Reiki and energy work. And I find it very helpful in the field. What do you think about that?
Well, I love Reiki. Now, crystal Reiki is a little bit different than regular Reiki. So the beauty in it is when we do Reiki, and people usually feel much better, even if they don't feel something, and they'll say, "Oh my God, what you just did is so amazing." And I always remind them that no, it's not me. I always call myself the male person, that we're just connecting source, if you want to call it that, the universe, whatever it is, and we're with the energy work, sending the love and light and healing energy. But with crystal Reiki, and I need to make a video. Spirit reminds me
Mhm.
all the time, and I've been saying this for years, but I actually work with all the main chakras, and you don't have to be in front of me. Most of my clients are distance, anywhere in the world, and so I check the chakras, see if it's overbalanced, underbalanced, or they are balanced, and then I use 15 symbols that go with crystal Reiki, mainly for healing, grounding, other types of energy. And then I intuitively use different crystals and quartz points and either direct energy in or direct energy out to balance them all. And I check them afterwards, and I check their aura for cracks and holes and all kinds of things like that. And then you seal them up with a selenite wand, and then I ground that energy afterwards. So it's kind of a longer session, and I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but yes, I love it. Reiki. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I use Reiki individually, and yes, I use them with crystals at times.
Mhm.
And like you said, with the frequencies and stuff, I've even had it where people have said they could actually feel me and my energy inside their chest, realigning their chakras. And
Absolutely.
that's they just kind of freaks them out once in a while when you do stuff like that. They're not expecting it. When you say, "Hey, I'm going to realign your chakras for you," and then they're just like, "Oh wow!" And then it's like they feel that energy, and it's like, "Whoa."
I know when I've had Reiki myself years ago, I had crazy things happening. I remember when I had one session and the person that was doing it, they said, "Holy cow, you got a busy head." And I do. And I swear on my kid's head that when I was laying there, she had one of those Chinese paper lanterns hanging up from the ceiling. The window
Mhm.
wasn't open. There was no fan, no air movement, and that thing was just swinging and swinging. She was sweating. Like there was a lot of energy movement that day, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that kind of reminds me of pendulums. When you get around a pendulum and you got that energy, and you're just sitting there, and you can get it to move back and forth, and the wave of the energy. And I've used pendulums before, and I think that's very interesting. And dowsing rods.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I call it my stupid pet trick every now and then. I haven't touched base with my guests for tomorrow night. I don't know if they're coming or not, but if they don't, and I don't get to do it very often, I love doing shows on my own. So I show people with energy, once you understand about it and how to focus it, is I'll hold a pendulum up. I can probably just even grab one, but I'll tell you exactly what it's going to do. And it'll start to move. I'll tell you it's going to move diagonal. Now it's going to stop. Now it's going to turn. Right. And that's the cool thing about it when you use things like that. And like I say, everything's energy
Yeah,
and the whole world. And once you start breaking it down and looking at it that way, it kind of becomes a little bit easier, I think, to understand, say, when we're working with the unseen parts of the world.
yeah. When I was working with one of my new teammates, she had some dowsing rods, and she was using them. And I said, "You want to see something strange?" So she was holding them, and I would take my fingers, and they would follow my fingers.
Yeah.
And she was like,
How are you
"Okay."
doing that?
And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "How you doing?" And I said, "Okay, now I'm going to hold them, and I want to see if you do it, because I know she can wield energy. I've known that since I've met her." So, hello, Victor.
Hi, Victor. Hmm.
And so I was sitting there, and I said, "Concentrate on the rods," and she got them to move.
Hmm.
So I said, "Here's something strange. We're going to try something." I said, "You think of something, and I'll think of something. Has to do with these dowsing rods, and we're going to see what happens."
Okay.
So, and I said, "Don't tell me what you're thinking." So we were sitting there, and the dowsing rods kept doing this.
Okay.
And I said, "So what was you thinking?" She says, "I wanted them to move in." And I said, I wanted them to move out. And
Oh,
that's
that's
why.
why.
And she just looked at me, and then I said, okay, you hold them. We'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, whoa, that's cool.
But that's the cool part about it, right? Hi, Kirby's 100. That's another one from pops into the Angel Rock a lot in our network. So nice to see all these people piling in, all your people.
Yeah, thanks for stopping
we're
in, everyone.
becoming one big happy family. I like that.
Effective electronics with my energy. Yeah, we had that happen as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love doing energy work, and the look on people's faces once in a while when I show them, you know, they back up like 10 feet and they can feel me writing in the palm of their hand, or I say, go back a little farther and they can still feel me writing in the palm of their hand. It's like, you're not right. I love that instinct on their face when they look at that.
I got a little bag of crystal. Well, I got crystals and all kinds of things on we had a UPRN Halloween Friday night, and a lot of our hosts, because I'm one of the oldie moldies on the network now. And when I'm on with the boys on Friday night and Saturday nights, one of the guys, Sean, his name's Sean too, for whatever reason, you can't talk about Star Trek. And the other guy that's on there, Jay McNicholas, he loves Star Trek. So I didn't know this. And I pulled out, I have a tarot deck with Star Trek on it. All the tools out on Friday night. We were having a great old time, Halloween decks. And so see, like this is like a pendulum. I haven't even used it. So this is my stupid pet trick, you guys. I call it that. So I'm going to tell you it's going to go back and forth. I'll try not to move my arm. Now it's going to stop. Now it's going to go in circles. Okay, diagonal now. And the first time I did that on a podcast a few years ago, I was a guest. People were writing in the chat, oh my God, she's a witch. She's possessed.
Oh yeah, it freaks people out when the first time they experience it.
And I haven't picked this pendulum up, hand to God, probably in a year. So it's just when you understand about it, and anybody can do it.
Oh yeah.
Right? And like, I love what you did with this girl with the dowsing rods. Yeah. Because she probably never would have even have tried that in a million years had you not suggested that.
Nope. Like I said, I try to train my teammates some of the things that I know. And yeah, she was like, that's just odd. And she said, but I get it. You know, I get it. And I've even I had a teammate call me last night when you sent me a text. And we were talking about the energy, and she says, has your energy been a little strange? And I said, didn't you forget it's Halloween? Yes. I said, the veil was thin all day on Thursday. You know, not Thursday, but Friday. Mm-hmm. And I said, because technically midnight Halloween is Thursday morning.
True.
Or I should say Friday morning.
Yeah.
Because it's the beginning of the day. But by the end of Friday night, the veil is closing up again. So I said, that's where your energy's picking back up. She goes, I didn't realize that. And I was like, that's why you're getting those little bursts.
I often wonder too, because my co-host, because I do a second show on the network with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. She has her own show called Spirit Switchboard on Fridays at 6 on UPRN. And we do a show together on Thursdays called Beneath the Hollow Moon. We talk about all kinds of spooky stuff. And I'm a medium, but Carrie Lynn Shellhorn deserves a television show. I am not kidding you. She's one of the most I'll fill in the blank mediums I have ever met. And we talk about this kind of stuff. And it seems like with what's been going on this year, it's almost like the veil's been abnormally thin. And we talk about it even up to New Year's, especially like, and is it collective because people believe that, right? Like, does that add to the energy? Because we almost feel like even up to New Year's, about that time, the veil's still
Susan.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Susan. So, and it almost feels like the veil's been open more so than what it would normally be this year. It almost seems. And again, that could, Michelle Wilfong, she says she's amazing. Love watching Carrie Lynn. Yeah, she is. She's incredible. And it almost seems like the veil's changed a little bit this year.
I've noticed it quite a bit. I mean, about 3 years ago, I had a girlfriend that passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She appeared to me about 3 days after the funeral, and she appeared in my dining room just right off to the side here. And that's the first full apparition I ever seen. But she showed me how to cross that veil. She taught me how to do it. She says, you're very capable of doing it. So every time, I think about her and close my eyes, I can cross into that veil, go over there, and it's just like a normal conversation, and she'll talk with me.
And that, yeah, well, my youngest son, who had severe autism, he would have been 27 in March, and with no disrespect, he was very much like that precocious age of a child that's about 5 to 8. He died in my arms January 15th, 2025.
Sorry to hear that.
3 feet away from me, right where I'm sitting. Yeah, so it's been kind of a difficult year, but again, I'm sorry about your loss, but I have to concur with what you're saying, because we can connect with those we've lost. And I love that your girlfriend came through to show you from the other side of what you can do and how you can meet with her and connect with her. And that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
She was always asking quite a few questions right before she passed away. And then I found some other stuff along the way that I wasn't looking for at the time, but after she passed away, I was going through some pictures and I found an image of me in one of the pictures that she took, and I wasn't even there. It was like I was in the back in the cabinet in the glass, and I have it circled, and it's a picture of my face back there. So, but yeah.
Well, I've heard of that before too. And even working as a medium, it doesn't happen often, but I have had sometimes somebody that's alive come through. And realize that what I think it is, and from talking with other mediums and people that work in this field, I think it's actually their higher self coming through, that there's a message that needs to be received. Like, it's not just with me, like it'll be with a client. And it's a message that needs to be received, right? And even though the person's still there, it's a really weird experience that, like I said, doesn't happen very often, but it has.
Oh yeah. Me and her got into quite a good conversation, and she's like, because her spirit would come to me in the middle of the night saying, hey, you need to have her slow down, because she was working constantly and helping her parents at the time and everything else, just running herself ragged. And it was like every night she's like, you need to get her to slow down. And finally I explained that to her, and she says, how can your spirit come to you if you're not passed away? And I said, because you're asked for projecting it, and it's coming, and it's warning. And she's like, I don't understand that. But I think when she took that picture, she was astro projecting images as well. And that's why it showed up in that picture of me and another person that was in there with her. And she didn't even realize she could do it.
Well, a lot of us don't realize what we're capable of, even as human beings, right? And what happens is once we find out, right, and you start, like the paranormal, the way I always describe it is the paranormal is anything that we wouldn't consider the norm. But when we think of what we think we know is everyday life in this world, it's like this tiny little dot compared to when you take the lid off the paranormal box and how infinitely immense it is. Like, you learn something or new every day, practically, I find, because you could spend every day from the day you're born and you still wouldn't know it all.
I think I do more reading and studying and other things now more than I did when I was in high school or college, because I'm just constantly learning. I'm like absorbing it.
Well, I always had a good memory. So you guys might call it college, but we call it university up here in Canada. And I was in university for 4 years to get my nursing degree. And luckily I could, I love to have a good time. So I didn't spend a lot of time studying, but I did well in school because I could take a book and just go and absorb it, right? But even with the paranormal, you just can't do that, because it's not what we've been taught to believe exists, right? And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there's no such thing as ghosts. You're being ridiculous, the whole bit. And I remember my first paranormal experience at between 3 and 4. I've had the strange and unusual around my whole life, my entire life. I turned 60 in August, and I think most of us that are in this field, I don't know, like what got you interested in the paranormal? I never asked you that, even since we've been chit chatting behind the scenes. On the
I've always liked scary movies and paranormal stuff back in the day. And then my grandma passed away in 91. And after she passed away, the church that I would go to, I was actually sitting in the church, and I seen her come in as she was a younger person, just like she got married.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't sick. She wasn't ill. She wasn't using a cane. She looked in her prime.
Mm-hmm.
And there was kind of a mist across the floor. And she sat right down right next to me. She says, "Don't you ever worry about a thing. You're going to make it." And ever since then, things have changed for me. And, plus I had some other stuff that happened where my wolf guide appeared that gave me choices at that time, because I have an animal wolf guide and a jaguar. But, and ever since then, they've been with me as well. And then I picked up some other guides along the way that have showed me a lot of interesting things.
That's interesting. And again, I'm sorry for your loss, but that's usually what most people have shared with me, is that that's what gets them interested in the paranormal. They've had this experience either as a child or, a young adult, and it's been life-changing because of the experience, because it's not what we experience every day. And I was going to say too, that's intriguing that you mentioned about your grandma, the way she appeared, because I find when I'm doing mediumship, like say it is a grandma and they passed away, or grandpa, could be anybody, but somebody that passed away at a very older age, they may show themselves like that to me at first, but always, it seems, as the conversation goes, they morph into when they felt the best in their life, like when they felt the healthiest, the happiest. Yeah, and it's interesting that your grandma appeared to you the way it sounds like she appeared to you too.
And before that, even when I was in high school, I'd have apparitions of things that would happen before they happened. But back then, I just thought it was coincidence. I never really followed through with it the way I do now. But not long after I started doing investigation with the first team I was associated with, and got into the Reiki, I walked up to my mom and I said, "So, how long have you been seeing and hearing things?" And she looked at me kind of weird, and I was like, and I showed her the energy thing with the energy, and I said, "You can do that too." And then she said, well, she said she'd been able to see him since her dad passed away, which was my grandpa. So, and I've even seen him in the other side as well, and I've had talks with him at times. So, but it seems like some of my family members have had apparitions of things to come and what's going on as well. So it kind of runs in the bloodline, and especially me being from the Irish side, and linked to the Druids as well. It's interesting.
My dad's mom, so I'm French, Scottish, and English, and actually Métis, First Nation as well. Finally discovered that actually I am Métis. It was on my mom's side, and she had always said, "Oh no, we're very far removed." And my eldest son works with Two-Spirit, First Nations adolescents and First Nation women, and with my brother's son, they traced the family line, and we actually are Métis. So it would be Scottish and English, and then First Nation. But on my dad's side, his mother, good French Canadian Roman Catholic family. Apparently my grandmother was pregnant every year for 25 years. God love her. But she had 17 children. And my dad was towards like the middle end of the kids. And he always told me the story growing up that his third oldest brother would have been in the early 50s. They used to build cars together, him and his friends. And I guess he was out hot rodding with his best friend in the vehicles they had built together. And the way, if I remember correctly, my dad told the story, it was like 6:12 p.m. or something. And my grandmother stood up screaming his name and saying, he's dead, he's dead. And my dad told the story that my grandfather said, sit down, you're being ridiculous. He's going to be here. And apparently right at that time, my uncle was driving first and his friend behind him, the door opened and he fell out, no seatbelt, and his friend ran him over and he indeed passed away at that time. The police showed up, I think an hour and a half later, to confirm that he indeed had passed away. So it does run on my dad's side as well. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, it's just amazing if you start backtracking your history and start digging up certain things and how they're all linked to what you're capable of doing now. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I had a Reiki master that got me into the Reiki and opening up everything else. And it's helped tremendously with that. And I've even took shaman classes for the last 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And it does help knowing that side of things, because when I go to the shaman class, I've got access to the Peruvian shamans that are there. I've got access to the Wiccans and learning all sorts of things as well. So to me, it's very helpful learning all those different types of traits, because it does open up the field a lot more to me.
Well, I don't know if you met Julie Jean Bassett, because I know you pop in every now and then to my show. She's usually in the chat. She is an animal communicator. And I was looking for a good animal communicator. And I was always, why can't I communicate with animals? I can communicate with the other side. Both my boys could do it. And my close friend, Leanne, she's known as the Crystal Architect on Instagram and Facebook. I messaged her and I said, hey, anybody who's a really good animal communicator? And she gave me a couple names and I went, that one, Julie. Mm-hmm. Long story short, Julie's helped me with many of my animals. You guys, if you've got a pet that is doing something crazy and you just aren't sure why or how to get through to them, because my youngest son at the time, his cat was like peeing on his bed, like never did this, no health issues. And I was at my wit's end. I mean, I was stripping beds. I had plastic covers on there. It was like, what the heck? Right. And the cat stopped immediately. I found out what the issue was. And literally, any attention was better than none. My son was playing his video games all the time, and she was very bonded to him. And he actually said it to me when he was alive. He goes, I think Sophie's, well, he said, what did he say? Angry because I'm not paying enough attention to her. And if you think of the saying, I hope it's okay to say, but pissed off. Well, that's what Sophie was doing. Anyways, I took her animal communication course, but she's also a shamanic practitioner. She's trained with Alberto Villotto, a whole bunch of other different mentors. And I'm telling you, that lady is mind-blowing. I had one session with her that was so life-changing. She actually she picked this up. I didn't tell her anything, and it's true. Severe trauma, abuse and trauma as a young child. And she could see what had happened. She ended up going on what she called a soul retrieval journey to retrieve that piece of my soul back. And I'm telling you, it was a life-changing session. So I wholeheartedly encourage you to, if you really, really relate to the shamanic side, to pursue it, because that's mine. She's often told me too about that they actually had to experience what's called a petite mort, or a little death. Like they had to go into a certain type of meditation and experience a death, if you will, of themselves. It was quite intriguing.
Kind of like doing your Akashic records when you use frequencies and going under to find out your past lives. Have you ever done that? Because I have.
Well, I kind of know what some of my past lives are, but okay. So the way I learned how to do Akashic records, and everybody does it different. My mentors in Los Angeles, her name's Amy Robeson, and she actually channeled and picked up picked out 3 crystals for each of the students. There's about 60 of us, mailed them to us as well as a pendulum, because she had people that had never done an intuitive thing in their lives. So the pendulum was to help check your answers. Now, I didn't use the pendulum, but she taught us to channel the crystalline energy, to work with the heart space versus the heart chakra. And she calls them the masters, teachers, and loved ones. So you could just work with one you want to call them ascended master, whoever in the Akashic records. But I find, and the way she taught it, and I agree, you get more of a more well-rounded answer working with the collective. So the way I've been taught to do it is we go in and we ask questions, and then I channel the feedback, and we go further and further and deeper. So I've even taken her second course where you can actually go in and look at the Akashic records of, say, somebody's going to buy a property or a house or something. So it's a little bit different, but the cool thing about the Akashic records is they're limitless. So if you really wanted to know about a past life, you could go in and do a past life. I have a past life deck sometimes I'll use. Or a lot of times just working with people, I pick it up. So everybody does it differently, but I have not gone into the Akashic records specifically to look at someone's past life.
Yeah. We actually use frequencies and put ourselves under and then go in and see it through the doorways of the hall. But I don't see it as a doorway or a hallway. I see it as a portal of energy that I'm walking through, like a time frame. That's how I see it. And then it just happens where I go is then what I see. And I've seen some pretty interesting stuff when I've been under that. Some of my old teammates, we found out where we were joined together in past lives. So
I can tell you something cool about the Akashic records that happened to me.
Okay.
So my paranormal experience in my previous home, which was extremely haunted. Without getting too deep into that, I met quite a few people. And there was one woman in particular who I'd gotten to know quite well, lives in another country, and always had weird paranormal stuff happening, crazy stuff. And I'd witnessed some of it, like talking to them live. They've taken pictures of me, some of the weird, crazy pictures, things that have shown up behind me. They were taken by this person. Anyways, they were undergoing a lot of stress, a ton of stress. It was like their mother, it wasn't their mother, it was a close aunt, was passing away. They were exhausted. All of a sudden, they started noticing this personality change with them. And even their older kid contacted me. Like, he was an adult, but he was seeing it. It was crazy. Like, and all of a sudden, she happened to mention that she had this old mirror an ex-mother-in-law had given her. And I remember saying to her, why are you telling me about this now? Like, how long have you had this mirror? And I swear to God, watch this on video. She pulls the mirror out. And have you ever seen the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Did you put the mirror at the beginning that brought goosebumps? This mirror had a hole in the middle of the mirror. They didn't even know that the mirror looked like this. It was underneath their bed. It was really heavy. It was about 4 to 6 feet long, but they dragged it out. There was like somebody had punched a hole in the mirror, and there was cracks to all 4 of the mirrors. After that happened, this girl, I've never seen anything. If I hadn't witnessed it, I wouldn't have believed it. Could not say the word angel, God, anything with religion.
Wow.
And I started to really see personality changes. So I know it's a bit of a longer story, but I swear to God, everything I'm telling anybody on here is the absolute truth. One night I was speaking to them because her kid called me and said, something's really bad here. Like, my mom's not even here. And I remember talking to them on the screen. It was their face. Like, it was them, but it was not their voice. And I watched them look at their kid. Their kid was on the ground, screaming, hanging onto their stomach. They had dogs. The dogs were crying, like, just with a look. And I remember looking in the eyes of this person, and oh my God, I never want to see that look of evil again in anybody's eyes. It was absolutely terrifying. It was 3:00 in the morning, my time. They were 3 hours behind me. And I'm thinking, who the heck, like, this was a long time ago. And I'm thinking, who the heck do I know that I can, like, get in on this call or something? Like, I need help here. And because I watched them levitate on screen. No word of a lie. So I ended up calling a friend over on the West Coast. They didn't see the levitation, but they experienced this. I finally ended up getting off the phone. This does relate to the Akashic Records, by the way. And I remember sitting there, and it was about 4:30 my time, and I could not, I just couldn't believe what I had witnessed. I was sitting there in my head thinking, what could I do? And I'm not a religious person, but I'm thinking I just really felt like I needed to pray. So I'm reciting the Our Father in my head, and I swear to God, I get a message on Facebook Messenger, cut that effing SHIT out right now. How would they
Mm,
know that I was praying? Then
right,
another half hour later, I got a message saying, it's time. And by this time, I was really PO'd. And I wrote back for what? Never heard anything back. But I just was so mortified and horrified because again, I wasn't dealing with this in my 20s. This happened later in my life.
right,
And so I'm thinking, what could I do? And so I contacted my Akashic Records mentor, told them what happened. And they were really intrigued actually by this whole story. And they asked, with my permission, could they go into the records and basically cancel or nullify any contracts, any agreements, anything
right.
I had with this individual. And I said, yes. I swear to God, within the next week, and I'm still friends with this person to this day, like acquaintance wise, it
Mhm.
was like the relationship just gently melted away. Like nothing, no fights, no arguments, no nothing. So if I was always a believer in the Akashic Records, but for that to happen the way it did, I have no other explanation. This person never got help. I don't know if they still have this attachment or whatever it is with them, but that was one crazy thing I can tell you. But at least I believe in the power of the Akashic Records.
I know one thing. They say the eyes are the
Oh
windows to the soul for
God.
sure. And if you look into somebody's eyes, you can actually tell what they got with them on occasions. And it's like,
Oh,
okay,
Sean, I have never, ever, ever seen this. Being a patient or as a nurse in patients, looking after people with severe psychiatric illnesses, anything, that was not human. I don't even have the words to explain the level of evil that I saw looking into this person's eyes. And I knew it wasn't them because they were a very sweet person, loved animals,
oh,
adored
yeah.
kids. Yep. I will never forget that as long as I live.
One of
Mm-mm.
the cases that I was on and that we ended up taking care of it, I actually experienced a 12-year-old little boy,
Oh,
probably weighed maybe a buck 25 soaking wet.
mhm.
And me and the lead investigator was upstairs investigating in a spot, and the one that taught me Reiki was downstairs with this little boy and his friend. And he literally picked, a riding lawnmower that has 3 blades is pretty good size.
Yeah.
He literally picked up the front of this riding lawnmower and
Oh
was
my God.
bouncing it like a basketball, like
Wow.
nothing. And my Reiki master, she yelled up and said, "Hey, you guys need to get down here now." And we come down there, and it took 3 of us to take care of that situation. But he was talking like he was a girl. The spirit was somewhat of a girl. He said, "I'm going to claw you, scratch you, bite you. I'm going to, do something to his stepdad." And I was like, "No, you're not." And fortunately, at the time, I was going through my Menaki rites. And Anubis came to me that morning before all this happened and showed me something to do. And that's what I did to that little boy. And we took that spirit out of him and got rid of it.
Wow. Like when you see stuff like that and people will go, yeah, sure you did, right? But I couldn't make something up like this. Like you couldn't either. Like when you see something like this, there aren't enough words in the human language to explain what you're seeing and what you're experiencing and what you're witnessing. Now, like I said, this was many years ago when this happened, what I shared. Um, I could probably do something, but I like to use analogies when I'm talking about a concept. And to me, I always say, you know what? God forbid somebody's pipes broke in the bathroom.
Right.
Could you probably watch a couple of YouTube videos and sort of bandage them together and get them fixed up? Yes. But I would rather, say if it was myself, call in someone that's fixing those pipes every day, because you know they're going to be fixed properly and they're
Right.
going to be done the right way. Same thing when we're dealing with things that we don't deal with every day. Nothing wrong with being present with it, but I would like somebody with me. For example, if I was dealing with something like that again, I'm not afraid of it. I'm respectful of it because I have experienced dark, 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 evil, and paranormal in my own home.
Right.
But and plus, I think there's safety in numbers as well, because I also think it's not like you can go to school to learn how to deal with these things. That I think having somebody more experienced along the way with you is the right way to be able to learn how to deal with things like this,
Right.
because it's
I mean,
terrifying.
it definitely sent the pace to me learning both sides of it, the dark side, the light side of it, in order to deal with some of this other stuff. Because I made the mistake, because just getting into this and involved with all the Reiki, the energy work, and everything else, I had a jinn follow me home one time.
Oh, good Lord.
Not attached to me, but he followed me, and it took me a couple days to figure it out. Lost my F-150. The truck locked up, tore up the rear end in it, and 3 days after that, I lost my job. But I happened to be sitting in the bathroom, and I got these solid wood doors. My house, the grain in it was changing constantly, like a picture.
I have heard of that before.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I got to get my bearings, shift the lights around, make sure it's not a reflection. And every time
you're blinking, going, what's going on with my eyes?
But it was showing me pictures of Solomon's castles in the wood grain. And then when I went to my bedroom, I didn't even have a dog at the time. I was hearing a growling sound.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? So then I was looking at my cabinet door that I keep my clothes in, and I seen a face on that, and I took a obsidian stone, pressed it up against it so it wouldn't move, and it stopped shifting. Well, then I summoned another jinn to come get rid of it and told him to go the hell home when he got done. And there's a spot I buried across the street next to a sign that don't grow any grass, about that big around.
No, I believe, and I'm glad that you brought that up about you summoned a jinn, because when I was going through what I was going through in my home, I didn't have a family doctor, but I had a great doctor. I would see at a walk-in clinic all the time. And she was from Pakistan, and we got to know each other very, very well. And I eventually told her what was going on in my home. And she said, Lorilei, why didn't you tell me about this before? I said, because I didn't want you to 5150 me and lock me up. Anyway, she ended up talking to me. She goes, well, we call those jinn. And she said, you might call them genies, but she said, they're kind of like angels and demons. There's good and there's bad. She actually, I tried it at the time. Like I was beside myself. That's why I've gotten so knowledgeable with the paranormal, because it became like, no word of a lie, I don't sleep a lot and I'm a night owl. I was like 18 to 22 hours a day researching, talking to people, because I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on in our house. So she had given me some Islamic prayer to play. I did. It didn't help, but I was very grateful that at least she tried, because she told me when she was a little girl growing up in Pakistan, she said we had a jinn, and she said, I still remember there was pillows flying all around the house. There was all kinds of stuff. So when you said you summoned another jinn, because there's not all just evil jinn, because that's what
there's like four types, and one's like every day this minds their own business, one's a practical jokester, one likes to cause chaos, and the fourth one don't mess with any of them. It's like, okay, I'll but make sure you send them back home. You don't want them staying around. But yeah, there's a spot across the street about that big around, don't grow grass anymore. That's where he's been for a long time, and I put salt on the top of him, and I'm sure with the rainwater and the salt, he's finally dissipated, but I always know where I buried him at.
Well, it sounds like he might be bound there too if there's no grass growing.
Yeah. So it seems like when I come across things like that, now that Solomon, he made an appearance as one of my guides as well. So that's interesting when things like that happen, because I've got some very good guides like Anubis, Solomon, Hecate, Basset, Egyptian magic stuff. And it seems to work.
And that's the main thing, right? You have to find what works for yourself. And, that's part of some of the things I talk about on my show or off air too, is I believe all of us have these abilities, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, growing up, as we start to grow up and you get told it's all your imagination or it's just coincidence or whatever it is, a lot of us forget, because besides studying near-death experiences, I really, really am passionate, and it might sound a little bit morbid, but looking into young children that remember their past lives, and the facts have been verified, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I also truly believe when I'm helping people with the paranormal, I have a questionnaire, and one of the first types of questions I ask them is, do you have young children and or pets? And if so, what are they doing? What are you seeing with them? Because I truly believe young children, usually up to about the age of 3, maybe 4, can see spirit and communicate with it.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
As well as others.
And I think they entice them to about the age of 12, because I've come across some things that I've studied. After you turn 13, you're actually classified as an adult in the spirit world, because the fact is you should know right from wrong by that time. But they seem to want to entice you all the way up to that point, because you still have that naiveness to you.
Yeah, that could be a point. I'm just thinking as you're saying that, though, and it's always, I also follow true crime. Like I said before we came on here, there's a lot of things I follow that I don't always get a chance to talk about on the air. And what's absolutely horrified me is, and again, is it a product of environment or what is it? But you're seeing younger and younger and younger children committing the most atrocious, violent crimes too, right?
But there's also a point in your life you can go the right path or the wrong path as well, from what's happened to you, like you said, from the trauma. But it seems like when spirits just want to entice them as yourself, like you said, you grew up with an imaginary friend for so long, and at that time, even like the deal with the little boy, the first time he had an attachment, the shaman that teaches me classes now, he took a spirit out of him the first time because there was a guy that died in his house. He wanted to relive his life as a child because his was so bad. I mean, he started drinking coffee like a sieve.
Yeah, and you find that too with not everybody. Like I say, nobody ever wakes up one day and says, I want to be an alcoholic or an addict, right? If somebody's out, it ends up, I think, a lot of times numbing pain that they've gone through. But also, I've seen this where people have an attachment. Actually, Michelle DeRoche and I did a show on her show, The Outer Realm. It was October the 1st, I think we did it. And we were talking about the difference between, say, an infestation versus an attachment, talking a bit about demons and stuff like that.
Possession and stuff, yeah.
In possession. And, she was, because she does a lot of that work, helping people with severe paranormal issues. And she's done quite a few different paranormal shows and stuff like that. But she was saying, and I have to agree with her, a lot of people have attachments and they have no idea they've got an attachment. And this is where I was going with addiction issues is, if you've been an alcoholic and you are still earthbound for whatever your decision is, why you've decided to stay, right? But you're still craving that alcohol or that substance. And when we utilize those type of things with no judgment, I'm not judging anybody when I say this, but it weakens our energy field. So you could very easily get an attachment that is craving that, if you will, quote unquote, buzz from whatever the substance is, right? And I have seen people that have attachments that this is happening to. So,
right.
Very, like you said, this little guy had an attachment and was drinking coffee like a sieve because of a spirit that was already in the home that had passed away. It happens.
Yeah. I don't remember if I showed you that or sent you that picture that one time we were working with one of my old teammates and we were taking an attachment away from him. And I was doing energy work on our teammate, and the Reiki master was holding up a tuning fork, and behind it, you seen the face. Did I
I
see
think
that?
you did send me that. I think you did. Now that sounds
Yeah.
familiar. I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, dealing with attachments, I've dealt with a lot of them. I've never really seen a full blown possession, though. That's for sure. But there are a lot of attachments.
I don't know. Like I said, this girl that I mentioned earlier, they were at the lowest point in their life. They were grieving. The person that was like a mother to them was on death's doorstep and going to be passing away. They were working 14 hours a day. They were running nonstop. They weren't eating. They weren't drinking.
Wearing
Nothing.
themselves down.
At the weakest they could have been, but not to be able to, like, if I hadn't witnessed this, I swear to God to you, I would have thought someone was lying. And I had a few people that did witness this, now that I think, because I had a previous co-host. We used to be on another network together years ago, and they witnessed what was going on. This person could not say any word that related to God, Jesus, angel, Archangel Michael, any word to do with religion. They could not say it. They would try. It just would not come out of their mouth.
Wow.
It was the most not fascinating, kind of horrifying thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And like I said, when that mirror came out from underneath the bed, I was like, I'll never forget this as long as I live that experience. We witnessed some pretty awful, horrifying things in our own home, though, too. So, and that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like I said, I've seen teams and talked to some teams, and and some of the things that they've experienced. I understand they've experienced it, but I asked them, do they ever use protection of any type? Do you ever do it like a ritual before you go in? Do you ever cleanse yourself when you come out? And they go, no. And one of these days they're going to be walking into something that they're not going to be able to get rid of, and then they're going to wonder why.
And it happens to the best of people. And yet I've seen teams, like, I love to watch Paranormal Nightmare on Friday nights on YouTube. I think they have a TV show. It's the Foreman Brothers. And the reason why I respect them so much is because they go in and they help people. And they have long before TV was involved. And they say the reason why they do it is because they experienced this as children and they had nobody to help them. So they have said they don't do any type of protection going in because they want to be able to capture the activity. But I know they've had some problems afterwards and have had to, they're all fairly deeply religious. And I think they work with some religious figures and stuff, but they're very open about that too.
Yeah. I mean, if I sense something when I step on the property and my teammates are around, I'll put a safety or a mark on them of safety or a protection mark from like an Egyptian mark and stuff like that, just to make sure that they don't experience something or pull something back. And then we always take selenite or crystals.
I think it's very important to be grounded.
Yeah.
Very, very important to be grounded. Like, even before I do a session with a client, I have my own thing that I do. And it's actually, I had sort of come up with my own grounding thing, and then working with another person, they did it a little differently, and I actually have adopted the two of them. So what I do basically is connect source energy through the top of my head or crown chakra, run that energy all around, run it down into the ground. But it involves almost envisioning, if you will, a cloud of or tornado of energy around me as well. Like, if I know I'm going to be going into something very dark. And then I usually just work with spirit too. Like, even like when I mentioned about the crystal Reiki and grounding people, usually if say people come regularly, and I do have some regular people, the grounding session is always different every time, because I just sort of go with what spirit gives me, what I see, what I feel, and go from there.
Yeah, it's kind of like how my Reiki master explained it to me. It's one of those natural instincts that you've been taught to in your past lives, and why you do the things you do them, and what works for you the best. So,
well, I had a confirmation of one of my past lives by two people that never met each other. And it was on my previous network. I have no copies of those shows, and I wish I did.
Mm.
If you want, I can share that with you. It's pretty interesting, this story. Do you want me to share it?
Sure.
Okay, so what happened was, I used to be involved with a larger group on Facebook, kind of a spiritual group, and there was a younger guy there, and I was kind of mentoring him. And then we were talking one night on, I don't know if it was Skype or something, and he goes, "I know you." And I said, "Of course you know me. Like, we're talking right now." He goes, "No, I know you." And I never ever say to someone when they tell me something, "You're full of it," because to me, I believe the truth will always be revealed. So he
Mm-hmm.
told me about a week before that he had a life as an angel on this planet. Now, I'd always been told that angels were never in human form. They can never do
Right.
this. I just heard the story. So he proceeds to say to me that night, "I know you," like I said. And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you know who Lady Titania is?" And I go, "No, I think it's either Midsummer Night's Dream or Macbeth from Shakespeare." He goes, "Well, she was queen of the fairy realm." He said, "You were her sister." And he said, "You were a queen as well." He said, "You weren't necessarily evil, but God help you if you messed with me, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I would unleash all hell unholy." And he described me, and he said, "You were tall, you had long black shimmering hair almost down to the back of your knees." He said it would have rivaled any shampoo commercial. He said you had the most silver colored eyes almost. And he said you always wore a crown of black, um, like thorns and what have
Mm-hmm.
you. Anyways, he told me all this, right? And as soon as he said this, he goes, "I used to call you Maeve." And I said, "No, my name was Maven." And it was like I knew right away. That night, I loved to draw. I'm very creative, but I hadn't done it in years. I sat down and I drew kind of like a Pegasus unicorn, like in
Mm-hmm.
about 35 minutes. It was that quick. And I knew instantly what this being's name was. It was Chloe. This was not my familiar. This was not my pet. This was my equal. We worked together.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to my attunement for crystal Reiki with my Reiki master.
Right.
And she lives in the States. So we had taken the course online, and she said, "I'm going to be attuning you this way. I need you to meet me in a meditation when I give you the appointed time. If you're not there, I will know." So no, mine was supposed to be on a Friday night. I never do this. I fell asleep. And I woke up right when she finished, and I messaged her and I go, oh my God, I fell asleep. I'm so sorry." And she goes, "Don't worry. When you listen to this, it'll be the perfect time." This was 5 days later, Tuesday evening. And I'm sitting there, and this was my old house. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to listen to this recording. And I'm thinking, what should I sit on? And I thought, oh, I just bought this really white, fluffy unicorn blanket because I love unicorns,
Mm-hmm.
fairies, all
Right.
this. Put on the floor. I had my hair, it was different color, it was all tied back around the back of my neck. I had crystals all around me. And I'm listening to this attunement that was recorded 5 days earlier. And my Reiki master says, "Oh, I see you sitting. Yeah, you're sitting on something white and fluffy." And she says, I still have the recording too. She says, "There is crystals all around you." She goes, "Yeah, and your hair. I don't think I've ever seen you wear your hair like that. It's all tied up at the back of your neck." And I almost came out of the meditation listening to this. Okay. So there's 15 symbols to crystal Reiki. And she's going through each one, attuning me to them. And then it goes, "I don't know what it is about the seven-pointed star." She goes, "Your higher self just took that, slapped it on your third eye, and she said, now I'm seeing it." And she describes me exactly the way this kid did. You're wearing this black crown of thorns. You've got this black shimmering hair, describing my eyes. Okay. So we go through the rest of the attunement. And then she sends me she goes, "This made me think," she goes, "this attunement of something." And she goes, "I didn't even know I had this in my office." And she sends me a picture, no word of a lie, of a fairy with monarch wings, a fairy statue.
Right.
These two have never met each other. They've never talked. So how does that happen?
Well, like I said, we find each other that
Mm-hmm.
we have similars, and that goes back to the old saying,
Mm-hmm.
birds of a feather flock together. So as soon as you find your flock,
But to me, that was
You're in
confirmed
tune.
for me to have one person tell me. I knew what my name is. I never heard the name Maeve, and I knew it was Maven. And then the hair, the black thorn crown, and then my Reiki master a couple weeks later doing my attunement 5 days earlier. I'm listening to it on a Tuesday night, and she basically confirms everything this kid told me.
And then what you were doing that night as well.
I just about fell over, like, because how would you? I didn't plan to sit on the white unicorn fluffy blanket. I didn't plan to put my hair, like, that's what's so creepy and weird and strange and kind of cool, that these two never met each other, and yet they're kind of confirming what each one said to me. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. I love hearing stories like that and from other people and their experiences, because like I said, it just makes things link together, especially,
Well, it sounds so crazy. It sounds like you got to be making stuff like this up, but it's like I couldn't have dreamed that in a million years if I wanted to. Like, so when that's confirmation to me.
But you also got to remember, people are going to look at everybody like us as being crazy until they have that experience for themselves and start their awakening of their own. So.
Yeah, well, like I was telling you before we went live, my close friend Leanne and I are working on our first course. It's going to be a 1 time a week course. It'll probably be, I think, probably by the time we get it finished in February, it'll be 1 time a week, and it's probably going to be a couple months. And what it is, if you've got abilities, great, and you want to kind of tune things up, or you want to try different things, or you've never ever tapped into your own abilities, that's what we're setting this course up, and to kind of build, hopefully, and we plan it this way, drama-free, safe space for people to ask and have these type of conversations, practice your abilities, and then kind of, have some offshooting courses. Like, I know Leanne's done a really heavy duty crystal course already that's ready to go. I'm looking at maybe doing one with the paranormal. Like, we're going to kind of look at all aspects of this. So
may have to drop in and check you guys out when you do that.
I hope you do. Well, when we're ready to go with it, we'll really, really promote it. We've got a name for it already. And because you know what? Like, even the guest I had on, it was last week or the week before, they had said to me after the show, wow, this was so awesome to be able to talk about these type of things, because I've never met anybody I can. And it's like, I actually said to them, you just haven't found your people yet, because there's lots of us out there. Hi, Heidi Gall. Oh, Kevin, hi, that's the Sun Dragon. All my peeps are popping in. I know you got your peeps here. These guys usually pop into UPRN, so glad to have you guys all popping in.
Thanks for stopping in, guys. Yeah, I mean, the conversations that we've talked about tonight and the ones I've seen on your show, I can sit here and talk to you forever on things, because
you're coming on the Angel Rock. We checked it. You're coming on November 17th. So we're going to delve into all your stories, and you just at the Malvern Manor that you just went to. And
I'll have Rock Island Arsenal here next Friday at
you're gonna have lots then.
So I'll have that underneath, and I'll be teaming up with Illinois Paranormal Research for that one.
Oh, cool.
And I can't remember the spot there in the Arsenal, but we will be doing that Friday night.
Oh, cool.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, Heidi said she didn't realize it. This was on. She goes, I would have shared it out. Kevin goes, how did I get here? Kevin, we're streaming live on my profile. Jody's from Australia. She's another friend of mine. Nice to pop in. Nice to see you,
thanks
Jody.
for stopping in, guys.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody. That's why I said I was hoping you were on StreamYard and we could share it because the more the merrier, right?
Yeah.
I summoned you, Kevin. That's what he got told. I always call Kevin by his muggle name. This is the Sun Dragon. He's a fellow Canadian, and he's spiritual and gifted too. So he pops in quite a bit.
That's awesome. I know you've talked about UFOs and other type of things as well on your show that I found really interesting. Because I've also had an experience with my youngest daughter and a couple things that's happened to me on the way home. But some strange and bizarre things. I think that links to portals with the deal with driving home, though, because one, I was on Indian ground, and then the other time it happened wasn't far from where me and my daughter seen the weird flying object in the sky. So,
Wow. Have you seen a lot of owls by any chance?
on occasion, I see a lot of hawks. I see a lot of eagles.
Have you ever heard the work of Mike McClelland and the connection he makes between owls and people that either have stories of being abducted or seeing UFOs or wanting to see them and then seeing a lot of owls all of a sudden before?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating work.
One of the other things I see a lot is crows. I do see a lot of crows all the time. And
Well,
I know they can mock and speak too. So, and I know they are capable of communicating with the spirits.
Well, I'm going to tell you then, or your listeners, about how my paranormal experience, if that's okay, started in my previous home because it does involve a crow.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay. So, we moved into this home, my previous home before, and I was with my first husband still. And it was like he had a personality change. He was very, very depressed. Would go to work, have to go in the bedroom, shut the door for 2 hours, come out and just basically veg out on the couch. This went on for years. Has 3 professional designations and always would seem to get to a job, be at the, make the last 2 or 3, never seemed to be able to get the job. There was a lot of things just didn't seem to be going right. I hurt my back in this home. That's why I can't work physically as a nurse anymore. My second child was born, again, almost died, and then had severe autism. Now, again, these things could happen to anybody, but it seemed to be a real string of bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
And it started little things like, your keys. Everybody's got their keys usually in one spot, right? And you'd be getting ready to go out, see your keys on the shelf, bend down to put your shoes on, stand up, the keys are gone. Looking all around the house, where the heck are the keys? Guess I'm not going out. I must be going crazy. Then maybe an hour or 2 later, you'd go to pick up the flyers, the mail, newspapers, whatever, and there's your freaking keys. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I was pretty well bedridden with my back, but I could get up. So to keep myself busy, I was making a lot of pet accessories and things like that. So the night before this all happened, we had heard about The Secret, the book The Secret, and this book had documentary had come out. So my ex, his name's Earl. He doesn't care if I say his name. He's kind of part of the story. So we had watched The Secret. And the next day I went out and I went to a bunch of local businesses and I was talking to them about some of the things I was making. And they're all saying, oh, well, we'd love to sell those for you. But nobody wanted any commission. So I remember going home and saying to Earl, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like I went to about 4 local stores today. Everybody wants to sell my stuff for me, but they don't want any commission from it. Mm-hmm. And so he looked at me and he laughed. He goes, well, maybe it's a secret. So that night I go to bed and I have a dream. And there was a tree in my front yard. And there was this tree there, but I was outside. This dream is like it happened 10 minutes ago, and it has to be at least 17, 18 years ago when this happened. And I look up, and there's a man sitting in the tree. And this man had on dark gray, white pinstripe silk suit. You could see white silk shirt, black tie. You could, like I always say, I'm not a high maintenance kind of girl, but you could tell he was wearing very expensive clothing. Right. So as I'm looking up, I see his face, and he's got this very short, clipped, all in one piece beard, mustache, and goatee. His hair is pitch black, and it's all slicked back and cut straight across the back just below his ears. But his skin was like this pasty, gross, kind of whitish green. And then I looked at his eyes. They were completely black. And as I'm talking to him in this dream, they're flipping between completely black and flame. And I said to him, who are you? And he said, hello. And he goes, you know that little business of yours that you've got? He goes, that's nothing. He goes, I can offer you wealth. I can offer you fame. I can give you everything beyond your wildest dreams. All you have to do is agree to follow me. No, it's not It's not podcast or radio friendly, what I told this thing to do in the dream, but I said in no uncertain terms to get the you know what out of here. And I kept saying, who are you? And then he proceeded to say, I'm a demon. And I said, then he told me his name. I didn't even have to ask. He told me what the name was. He then spelled the name for me, and that I had had enough in the dream again. And I told him again, much more emphatically, with many more cursey words, where to go. And
Right.
he started to laugh at me. And he was waving his finger at me like this, going, oh, no, 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 no. Every time you see a crow or a raven, you'll know who it is. And I remember in the dream calling on Archangel Michael. I don't have words to explain how brilliant these colors were. I saw this flash of sapphire royal blue, silver, and white. I woke up shaking, crying, and in an absolute sweat. And I don't do those kind of things. Afterwards, all heck did break loose in my house. But the interesting thing was being raised Roman Catholic and being forced to go to church and the schools. I say I'm a retired Catholic. And, anyways, I looked for this name. I had never heard this name before, and I'm not afraid of the name, but I know better than to be repeating it openly on air. Anyways, I could not find it. The girl I told you that I helped,
Mm-hmm.
before all that happened, she had messaged me and said, I had a dream and was given a name. Do you know if this is something evil? And I just said, well, that's not my field of expertise, but let me have a look for you. There, 5 years later, what do I find? The name this thing gave me was spelt exactly the same way. Um, the animal form was a crow, and it was described in the book, or it was actually on a web page, as one of the first 40 from the fallen angels created. I don't know if it was or it wasn't.
Interesting.
And all heck did break loose in my house.
Well, the one that the little boy I described to you that was doing the lawnmower thing, I'll call that what we dealt with that night, Mr. B, if you know something that starts with a B.
Know many of them with B, but yeah, I have an idea. No, this name is not common. It's short, and it's not the one that starts with a Z, obviously, because that's a short one. No, and I'll tell you off air what it rhymes with. And the reason why, for anybody listening, all it does when you say its name, you repeat it, you spell it, you just give it more power. Same
Oh
thing with
yeah.
fear, anger, depression, sadness, anything low vibrational. That's what it's looking for. That's what it feeds on. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely so. And I've had stuff come over the ovulus where they've laughed at me, and then till I summoned a certain person,
Mm-hmm.
and then the laughing stops. It's weird.
We
I
had
mean,
four main entities. I think I've sent you the EVP recordings.
mm-hmm,
And I never ever communicated with it. I was always told not to, but I used to call into my friend Jason Bland's show, which is on Sunday nights here, actually on Facebook and YouTube, Paranormal Soup. It's at,
mm-hmm.
I think it's 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, till about 1 a.m. Central. Um, I called in because he used to do ITC nights, and both of them it was during Halloween. But I shared both of these on publicly as well. Some of the pictures we've taken. It was 2017, and I actually thought I'd missed the Halloween show. I was watching actually a Lincoln Park Memorial concert, and I went, "Oh crap, I missed Paranormal Soup," because I used to go every week.
Right.
And I thought, "Oh, I'll just pop in and say hi." And Jason was on the previous network that I also was on, and he had gotten an extra half hour to go longer. So I was the last caller of the night. You guys, if you hear this recording, it is the most intelligent, creepy thing I've ever heard. And there is one phrase that comes in on there, because I know Jason put subtitles on it for people, but um, I don't know what it is. I don't know what language it is. I don't know if it's reverse. It's a male voice coming through.
Mm-hmm.
But it is definitely intelligent, and I will call it a Class A EVP that was recorded, and it's pretty damn creepy.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, it's amazing. Like I said, until you experience these things yourself, and then like what me and you've talked about tonight, and knowing some of the things that we've crossed and had to deal with them, and people just look at us like we're crazy, but until they experience it themselves, they'll never understand it.
I wouldn't
And
believe it if I hadn't experienced it myself. I can't wait to hear some of your experiences when you come on the Angel Rock.
I know just from sitting here, from the energy that you're putting out, because I can feel it from where I'm sitting, that it's authentic. I know that what you say is true because it's that connection that we have. And I know for a fact that you're probably linked to some Egyptian stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's talking to people like you and sharing your experiences with everybody. I hope people start to realize that some of this is not just fairy tales and fake anymore. It actually is real.
I didn't get into UFO. I don't know if it's UFO, but I blinked and ended up miles away from where I was, and car in the opposite direction. Yeah, like I've had all kinds of weird, strange, unusual stuff.
I've had an incident where I stopped at a stop sign on Indian ground. Next thing you know, I'm 2 miles down the road in the ditch.
Oh my gosh.
That quick. And I
just blinked. I've lived in the city my whole life. And I went to the store because I never slept. Like I told you, I was up 20 hours a day researching because I wanted to know what the heck is this and why is this happening. We had a doppelganger female shapeshifter in the home. That was one of the main ones. We had what my two boys at the time and my partner Dell called the shy guy. He looked like that character from Super Mario. I think I have a picture of him. With the dark cloak and the white hockey mask like Jason. And then we had the main thing, and I have a picture of it many times with a black type of mist. And the female shapeshifter would mimic my voice, my two sons' voices, and take my form. And has hit my partner twice, a couple times. Dell's also been thrown across the kitchen 15 feet. I'm telling you, that's this, and I documented a lot of it because I thought nobody's ever going to believe me about this stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I pulled up to the stop sign and I was actually talking to Pam Harris from Serene Divine and Lori Bragg when I was on the phone, and I was wide awake and I set the phone next to me and I had them on video chat so they could hear me because I didn't want to get caught driving being on the phone, so it was just like video chatting with them. But I stopped at that stop sign. Next thing you know, I'm 2 miles down the road, which is not possible, in the ditch. And I could have never made those curves like that.
Because you had someone on the phone with you.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I was going to the store and Della had said to me, okay, you're just running to grab something. I said, yeah. And it was 2 minutes away. But I took the car because like I walk with a cane when I'm out walking just in case my leg gives out. So I took the car and I was going, I think, to 7-Eleven at the time. It would have been a 6-minute walk, 2 minutes by car. So I'm going towards the store. I'm going to turn the lights red and I stop and I blink. And when I open my eyes, hand to God, my phone is ringing. I don't even know where I am. I am out in the country. Like, and my phone's ringing and it's Dell calling me going, where the double HE or the HE double hockey sticks are you? Like, you've been gone an hour and a half. I said, what do you mean an hour and a half? He goes, he thought I got in an accident. He goes, where are you? And I had to say to him, I don't know. He goes, what do you mean you don't know? And he was really worried because I hadn't had a lot of sleep. It only had like an hour's sleep, right? So he was thinking, God, did you get in an accident or something? I said, I'll call you back. I was actually surprised I got cell service. And I still remember the building that I ended up beside. I've never seen it since. It was a building like a half circle. It was abandoned. It had all these windows on it that were all smashed out. So I was way out in the country. Like, how did that happen? Like, I blinked and opened my eyes, and that's where I was.
Yeah. Your friend here says she's experienced time slips. I've done that as well. I've actually been talking to Gwen and texting her on the phone. Like right after lunch one time, I was sitting there texting her. She was asking me a question. And it was right after lunch. So it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock. Well, 1 o'clock was when it was because that's when our lunch is over. I was sitting there texting Gwen, finishing up the text message. And next thing you know, my coworker comes in and says, what are you doing, Sean? And I'm like, what? He says, time to go. It's 4:30.
Oh my gosh.
that quick. Not only did I experience it, Gwen experienced it at the same time when we were texting.
Oh my
The
gosh.
craziest thing that ever happened, but yeah, that happened to me and Gwen at the same time.
Wow. Because Kevin, so your son Dragon said we lost time driving too.
Mm-hmm.
And that girl says that time we drove for hours, but gas gauge never decreased, never moved. See? And so,
Yep.
like, look at there's people here explaining their own experiences. You've had it, I've had it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Joe Montaldo, who owns UPRN, also is a big part of ICAR, which is International Center for Alien Research. So I think it's icar.net as a website. You can go there, and he's been doing a 20 plus year study of people that have Rh negative blood, green eyes, and red hair with UFO experiences and abduction stories. Because according to his research, like he's done a lot of Ancient Aliens and shows like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He says that up to 70,000 years ago, those three attributes never existed in the human genetic profile. So where did it come from? Now, I don't have those things, but my
Same.
mother has all three.
Yeah, and I'm blonde hair and blue eyes, but I know there's been some studies on that as well.
Mhm.
But one of the last things I had with the time slip too is I was coming back from a friend's house and I'm driving down the interstate. Next thing you know, I'm looking for the exit sign because it says just a couple miles up the road.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here driving. Next thing you know, everything around my car just goes black.
Oh my gosh, really?
I could still see the front part of the road where I could see the lines, but everything.
Oh, that's
I looked
terrifying.
out the rear view mirror, and there's a car back there that has 4 headlights sitting here following me, and it's doing this.
Was that Men in Black? Because that's what
And
it
I'm
sounds
sitting here
like.
just like, what the hell? So I'm sitting here and I keep looking for my exit, and where my exit is lit up like a Roman candle. You could never miss it because there's a
Wow.
hotel, everything else. Never seen the exit. I end up clear past the next town, going into another town before that dark, misting black light leaves my car.
Wow. Like,
So,
like what? And you're asking yourself, right? When things like this happen, like I always jokingly say, God forbid I ever get Alzheimer's. These are things I will never
well,
forget.
see, the funny thing about it is the first one with the stop sign happened on Indian ground. The second one that happened 5 miles away from where me and my daughter seen something flying through the sky after I picked her up one time when she was a senior. So those two parts might be linked together, but the Indian one's something else.
Well, Thunder Bay, where I live, Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman show is from here, and Kevin Durand, he's kind of an action movie actor stuff. They're both from Thunder Bay. So Thunder Bay has so much First Nations history here. We have the Sleeping Giant, or it's called the Legend of Nanabiju, or some will call it Gitchgumi, but it's Legend of Nanabiju. And supposedly it is the spirit of the chief for that area that laid down to protect the world's largest untouched silver mine, and it's cursed. So anybody that tries to access it, it will die. It's never been accessed. Every time somebody tries to access it, they die. And then on
Wow.
the south side of the city, rurally, we have Kakabeka Falls, which is tied in with the Nanabiju legend, same family. And it's called the Little Niagara of the North. And it's too long of a story to get into, but if the sun is shining just right on the falls, you can see the daughter of the chief,
Mm-hmm.
her life to save her tribe, basically. And you can see her. I've never seen her, but there you apparently can see her at the bottom of the falls standing. And there's a lot of crazy paranormal activity that happens there. I am telling you, I have got so many things locally. I've got a picture. We My partner Dell's family has a cabin as a camp on a beautiful lake here. And somebody was out there. Somebody sent this to me. It was still frozen. They were walking across the lake and their foot went through. And so they took a picture of the hole. And some of my people that are here have seen it. I'm sure some of you guys have, but in the hole, it looks like the face of a First Nations woman. Like there is no pareidolia in any way. Like you could see this without me telling you anything. You would see this person's face in there.
Yeah, because I mean, I've actually seen pictures of things behind people as well, and it's not paraphernalia either.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about. That's how I originally got on the first paranormal team. Is I would go through some of their evidence, their videos that they were doing, and I'd send it back to them. And I was like, "There's something here," and they'd look at us like, "What?" They check it out. And it's like, "Yeah." So that's how I actually got started being on an actual team, and then meeting my Reiki mentor and stuff. So that's how that kind of fell into play.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, we're about 4 minutes.
I figured we might be. That's why.
In an hour and a half, time has flown, and I have another show I got to produce after this one. And I could go on and on with this. So, I mean, we'll continue.
Do part 2 on my show, and then I want to hear all your stories.
Well, yeah, just ask me which ones you want me to talk about, and we will definitely do that. And we're definitely going to have you back on the show, because
thank you for having me.
There's other things here, because I know you guys have touched in on the Federation of Lights, which I've seen things about, and Andromeda, the
Dogman, Bigfoot, more
Draconians and stuff like that. So I mean, I've seen some stuff like that as well. So maybe we'll just have to team up and just do one big show one night, and
that would be a lot of fun.
Even get a few of your friends here that's making some comments to come on, and
they'd probably love that, wouldn't you guys? I'm sure you would. I'm sure they would love it. I have to say this, Sean, we have the best audience, and 85% of our audience, because UPRN broadcasts to every country in the world, they're audio only. But this crew here that shows up, they support so many of our shows, or if one of us is live, and just love them so much. And you have such a great audience. I've seen the comments they've made too, so that'd be a lot of fun.
But yeah, we should do that, because like I said, we've got a lot in common and a lot of things we could discuss, and we haven't even scratched the surface, because there's like a little list I wanted to, but we got in on the stories, and I know that we've got similar aspects and experiences. It's just, I wanted to hear it. So,
and I can't wait, like I say, and people relate, like listen to all the stories, or when we're reading this, the comments people are making. And you know what, I think that's great. Jody just said she'd love that show if we did that and had people on, because people relate to it, right? And it's a place where they can share their experiences too.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I knew this would be an interesting show, and I do greatly appreciate you coming on tonight, because I love talking to you. We're going to definitely have to do this
again. For me too.
And like I said, I've stopped in on some of your shows after I've got done with mine, and doing some stuff for the network and stuff for my network, and the conversations you guys got, and I can relate to a lot of them too. So it's definitely.
We'll stream to your audience on, you guys, if you can, if you're listening. So Sean's going to come on my show, The Angel Rock, on November 17th. It'll be 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we got the same option that you can stream to your peeps too. So we can have them all join our crew over here too.
All righty. Sounds like a good time. And we'll definitely continue the conversation, and maybe even go on to a part 3.
Hey. I love talking paranormal. I love talking about anything. So I enjoy it. I love meeting nice people, like-minded people. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, like I said, I do appreciate you coming on and taking the time, and thank you very much. And just here in a few minutes, we're going to have Len Dorham. He's going to have part 2 of his show from last night. I'll help produce it. So, Laura, thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. I appreciate everything you guys do and all the support as well. And check out Friday night when I will be at the Rock Island Arsenal.
I'm going to put that in my brain, because I'd love to watch a live investigation. So
the last one that I had was on our channel as well. You can go back and go on the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal, and you can find out what we did at Malvern Manor. And when we get through some of the evidence, me and Phantom Pals will have a special show during the week, and we'll discuss a bunch of stuff there as well that happened during the day and that night as well. So
I'll just tell people, if you ever want to get a hold of me or watch the shows, you can find me on any social media platform under Lorilei Potvin, or on Facebook, or my YouTube channel is The Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin, and I stream everything over there too. So again, Sean, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to when you're coming on my show next.
Yep, I am looking forward to it as well. Definitely check out Laura and Angel Rock and all the channels she just mentioned. And everybody have a great weekend.
Have a good one.
We're out of here. Maybe.
Maybe not.
Buns are acting up.